Hey, everybody, welcome back. I want to introduce you to my friend, Carrie Flynn. Hey, Carrie.
Hi, friend. How are
Hi.
you?
Oh my gosh, so good to see you. You're the CEO and founder of Virtual Simplicity, and it's really cool because you and I have crossover clients. We have very similar offers. And I thought it'd be really neat for us to talk to not necessarily the people who are our clients today, but other people who have the kinds of offers that we have.
Hmm.
Because for many of the listeners, they might be somebody at that multi seven figure mark that could be an ideal client for us. But they also might be thinking about an advisory style business or kind of a consulting style business. I get a lot of questions about that.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah. And so I get I get like two or three Voxers a day from people in our mastermind or messages of like, tell me about your business again. How does that work again? And you have a very similar model. You really help people more with making sure that they have what you call, and I love, a Zen launch,
Yes.
which I love because I have approximately zero experience actually being Zen during a launch. So
Not the only one.
I love this. And what do you love about this advisory kind of style model?
I think I told you this the other day, but my favorite part of it is it's a very one-to-one, like relational
Yes.
type of role. We also do project-based launch strategy, launch intensives, and other things that are a little bit, shorter in nature and time. But with a few of my clients, at least two of the three that I have right now, I've been with them for over almost a year with one and over almost a year and a half. So the relationship aspect of it is so vital. And it allows me the time as a consultant and kind of strategist to develop a really solid like flow, which is the ultimate like end all be all when you're someone who launches something on a regular basis, even if it's just two times a year or whatever, because the goal is to create it as a part of your business flow and not as this like kind of spiky, stressful situation that you spin out on.
Okay.
So when you have that one-to-one relationship, it gives you the opportunity to build a know, like, and trust with someone. And you get a lot of autonomy and freedom to create a really strong, like calm flow for their launches. For me, which is I love that.
Oh my gosh, so many questions. So good. So yeah, I would agree. I just had a client off board and they sent me a message and they were like, you know what, we're and it joined a couple of their masterminds. We're going to focus on that for a little while. And I was thinking, you've been with me for a year and a half. That's a win. Like to me, if somebody offboards after a year and a half and they've doubled their business and they're going to try some other things, like
Mhm.
amazing. I'm
Yeah.
so excited for them, right? And I know we'll stay in touch and they could be back. But I think exactly what you're saying, like the business relationships that we have with our clients, there will be a start date and an end date. Like it will happen, right? As much as we
Yeah.
wish that they would stick around forever, right? But I think it's the relationship that takes precedence and the exchange that makes it so enjoyable, at least for me.
Yeah, definitely. I had a client that we mutually kind of parted ways in December, and we've been together almost 2 years. And while it's like hard because you care about them, but it also you're not, like you said, it's not always, you're not along for the ride for every season of somebody's business. And so it's so great to like see. I love to see people win and be
Yes.
successful, and I enjoy that. I'm not somebody that needs to be in the front all the time, which is, I enjoy being kind of in the back end and watching people do their thing. And it's easy for them because they don't have to stress about insert things they don't like doing for their
Right, right.
life,
I
whatever the
love
things
that.
are.
So I have yet to have a Zen launch. It sounds really, really amazing. I will say that being a growth strategist for many clients who launch, I rarely see them Zen during a launch.
No.
So, like, I knew a lot of what you do is planning ahead, making
Mhm.
sure that the things that they like doing are on their plate, the things that they don't like doing are off their plate, and all of that, right?
Yeah.
But what happens when things go sideways during a launch? Like,
Well,
how
yeah.
do you keep that zen? Like, I mean, let's go for the catastrophic situation. Like you lose your ads account, or like your social seller quits, or like
Oh,
I'm
geez.
thinking about what things have happened to us. I've not had both of those things, but I
I
have
have
had it
seen
like
somebody's ad account. I have a client who lost their ad account. I have had
during a launch.
right around then. Yeah, it was very like either right before or right after, and they never got it back. It was very weird. It was very, yes, but I've been down that road before. I've
So
had
how do you,
internet go out during a Zoom.
oh
I've
yeah.
had,
Yep.
yep.
Yes, I live in an area where that happens quite a bit. So how do you get to a place where it is totally zen, right? Where it's something like that happens, things go sideways. Like, how does streamlining launches make something like that? Um, the owner's just not a puddle on the floor.
Right. Well, number one, it's knowing that something will probably go wrong is really key. That's number one. I have to say that out the jump. Like anytime I work with someone, we can plan everything, but we're not in control of everything. We surely can't control the weather, which is what happened to that one client where the internet went out. We have no control. There's some things we have zero power over. But knowing that there's a high probability that something's going to go sideways is number one. And number two, it's not just about planning and prep and getting testing everything, although those are really important things to do. It's another vital component to being in a Zen launch is the mindset work and the self-care preparation and the caring for yourself. That sounds ridiculous, but is the only thing that saves people from falling out and wanting to burn their businesses to the ground during a launch. So our mutual person that we adore and love, Helen, who's a mindset coach in our mastermind, did a training kind of on some of the psychological, physical aspects of that, how to manage yourself during stressful times. And those are really important. So I spend a tremendous amount of time coaching and consulting my clients around those aspects. Like, one, you got to prepare for self-care during your launch. Do this, and this. Two, you should be caring for your wellness. Like, are you getting outside? Are you drinking enough water? Are you exercising? I mean, it sounds really like very elementary, but these are things that we will throw right out the door the second that we are prepping for something like a launch or we get close to it. We'll start like slaving away at our computer for like 15 hours. And that's not healthy. And what's going to happen is you're going to trigger some of the like fight or flight responses in your body. And instead, or freeze. I'm a freezer. Personally, I tend to freeze, but fight, flight, or freeze reactions because
That's
you're going to get
interesting.
so stressed that you're going to react in that way. And that's not healthy. So it's so important to do put mindset work and self-care preparations. Like I tell my clients to even like, don't cook, order in, do DoorDash, do grocery delivery, have a babysitter on call if you have kids, like do things to take care of, schedule massage, because physical touch and getting out that like stuff out of your body really, really helps. Or get a facial, same thing, kind of getting those things out really does help. And that is a huge battle, things that you can battle some of that stress. But also just knowing that having contingency plans for when, as many as you can for when things go right is really key. That's why activating people on your team, having people there to support you, having good processes really helps, but you can't predict everything.
That's
So
such good advice. That's so good.
just know it's going to happen. And what are you going to do about it when it does? Like, how are you going to react to it? If you come from a place of reactivity, you're going to activate all this stuff, fight or flight stuff, and then you're going to fall out and you're going to want to spin. And then you're going to want to like burn it to the ground. And like, that's not being in touch with reality.
Yeah.
And we want to ground ourselves back in what's real. That's so important.
Yes. Yes. I can completely understand that. And I think as business owners, we're particularly bad at self-care anyways. And so thinking about how to layer that in with launching is probably a little bit of a mind bend.
I will say it's important to know that just because something is Zen doesn't necessarily, or simple, doesn't mean it is always easy on you.
Right.
That's so important to know, that it doesn't mean it's going to be so easy and no problems. It just means, how are you going to feel throughout the process? And you can control that.
Yeah.
You can't make sure it's not always easy on you, but you can certainly control yourself and how you're choosing to react and participate in the process.
Yeah. I love that. So you and I have a shared client. She was offboarding with me when you started onboarding. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love Carrie. I'm so glad that you're working together. And the first thing she said to me when we started working together is she said, I hate launching. I never want to
Yeah,
launch again.
she said that to me too.
And I'm sure she said that to you too.
Yes, she did.
So what do you think that are like the biggest reasons why people, like the biggest mistakes that they make that make them never want to do it again? And what can you do to actually fix them?
Well, her reason, I think, was just she felt very kind of overwhelmed by all the parts, and she didn't want to be involved in a lot of the details because it just felt like a lot of to manage, and that can feel very overwhelming when if your strength area is not that. And that's hard. So that was one of the biggest things that I know she said to me she didn't like, and that she wanted to not even think about it. She just wanted to just show up and do the thing that she wanted to do, and everything else she didn't want to worry about. So that happens a lot to people where
So how do you fix that? How do you fix
well,
it?
if
Yeah.
you cannot get help, that's key. If you can get help first. That's number one. Like, if you can get somebody to support you, even if they're on your team, to help you with that, and you don't necessarily have the money or what have you to invest in somebody like me, to come in and really overtake it all. There's ways to handle it with people internally. That, let's say you're starting out like from nothing. How do you deal with that? Well, you have to know yourself. So she's pretty high quick start. Like, you're going to want to zoom on all these ideas and stuff and just start pinging. And that causes a lot of chaos. And ideas are great, but also terrible. And so so they're awesome, but also can cause you a lot of stress and overwhelm. So I think that pivoting, a lot of people are at the beginning or imposter syndrome. There's shiny objects and all the things. And it's very tempting to, that's what I see with people causes a lot of overwhelm, and they're focusing on the wrong things. They're not taking their idea through to the end. They're not really like seeing it through. And they're not really planning anything. They're sort of just like jumping ahead like a whole phase and a half right to the part. They just want to jump to the launch. That's not a good idea. Like, there's something to be said for like slow down for a second and let's really like think through like what's really important and just slow down for a sec. That's the biggest thing for me that I noticed. We've worked with newer people as well as more seasoned business people, and I noticed that quite a bit, that people think that all they need to do is put the thing together and boom, I can put it out there. And I'm like, that is the opposite direction of what you need to do. That's not what you need to do. Is you need to think about what do the people really need from me, and how can I communicate that to them in an easy and simple way. So it's an easy yes. So I would say, in terms of combating the I hate launching thing, like, really examine why that is. Why? What is it about launching that you hate? And it's probably because you've been doing it wrong.
Right.
Meaning you've been doing it too stressed or too fast, or you had too many ideas, or you had no support and you were doing it by yourself, or you were focusing on the wrong things, or maybe you had too much. And it could be a combination of a couple of those things, honestly.
Or with the experience we've had in our team is you assign it to somebody and they don't do it. So then I have to do it.
Yeah. And then there's that's a whole nother, like, listen, I could go off on that topic because I had that same issue with my team, but there's issues with team. Like, do they understand what a due date is versus like, when it's due versus when it's ready for review? Like, there's all these layers, and that can cause distrust on a CEO or a business owner. And then they feel like, oh crap, I have to that was the issue our client was having to circle back and check everything. And that feels like,
It's terrible. Nobody
oh,
likes that. Nobody likes
so
that.
hard when you're like, just trying to, you just want it out there. And as she said, I just want to make sales. I want to help women. And I'm like, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I get
I
it.
can totally relate to that too. So this is such a good conversation. And I know people will probably want to get in touch with you after they hear. What's the best way for them to connect with you?
Well, I am, of course, on Instagram and LinkedIn. If you go on LinkedIn, you just search Carrie Flynn and it'll pop up. And then Virtual Simplicity is our business name. So if you look on Instagram, that's my handle. But if you want to know more details about our business and our services and what we do, our website's the best bet. It's virtualsimplicity.co, because I could not get .com.
Awesome.
Sad.
Virtualsimplicity.co. Thank you.
.co.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Awesome to be here with you. And I'll see you soon.
Thank you.